Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to do something interesting, and it's going to be the first mod on this 4Runner, which is to lift it. So what I have here is a DayStar basically lift kit, and this is going to be a spacer lift. Now I was looking into other options, but I'm thinking to start off with a spacer lift for now, based on what kind of use I'm going to get and based on some experience and some positive reviews I've heard on the spacer lift. So right now we're at about 4.5 inches of normal body height, and we're going to be lifting it 2.5 inches, which will be quite good. We'll get a lot more ground clearance and we'll be able to fit bigger tires as well. So let's take a look at the install and see how this lift works out. Initial measurement on the back is 35.5 inches, and initial measurement on the front is about 34 inches. So I'm starting from the rear. I just did the other side, and I think I figured it out how to do it. So first step you need to do is loosen this bolt right here. It's a 12, so basically this tie rod kind of lets loose and gives you the clearance. And also loosen this shock bolt, which is a 17, and that will kind of free up the axle. Now on the other side, I have the jack positioned on the other end of this rear differential to kind of pivot it up. So once it pivots up, it allows more clearance and lets the spring kind of come out. So let's get started. All right, everything's loose now. We're gonna go for the spring. And I forgot to mention, remove some cabling and things that might interfere, at least the bolts that are connecting the lines on the differential. So this is pretty loose. There you go. So the spring's out. All right, I'm gonna make sure everything's clean, then we'll put the spacer on. All right. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, we have the spring, right, and we have the top hat. I'm gonna take this out, align this spacer onto the spring, put the top hat on, and then pretty much try to fit this whole thing back in, which is going to be interesting. Oh yeah, got it. Oh shit. Yes. Oh, that took a long time. I wouldn't recommend any of that. Please do it safely. So what I'm gonna do now is lower the other side, bring the jack here, raise this up, align it with the shock, put all the bolts back in, and that should be it. The cap. And then the bolt, like this, hook line. Alright, so I did a quick look over of everything. What I'm going to do now is lift the center of the differential to get it up enough to put in the tires, and then I'm going to put on the tires and let it come down. Oh. Oh, I can already feel it. Damn, that's sitting high. At the start, I think we were at 34. Let's see. 37 and a half. I don't remember if we were at 34 or 35. In that case, it's either 2.5 or 3.5 inch lift. It's still gonna settle. This is cool. On to the front. Okay, so I've started on the front. I'm gonna show you what I've done so far. So basically, I loosened the shock nut and kind of hammered out this bolt we have right back here. I've given some support underneath the lower ball joint just to make it easier to kind of hammer out that bolt. I've also started loosening these top shock mount nuts. So there's 3, 1, 2, 3. And then that's basically all you really need to do to get it out. Alright, I've got all the nuts out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower this jack a little, free up the shock. Okay. And just like that, it just came out. Alright, now I've removed the shock assembly, and what we're gonna do now is just basically clean up the mount. And first thing you do before installing the spacer is put in these extensions. So you just thread these on to the original shock mount. Now one thing I want to mention is the height of this nut right here versus the height on the threads on the extension are very different. This extension is much longer. So this gave me a problem on the other side because when I went to install it, this kind of went right up to the fender. It didn't really touch, but there was no clearance for me to put the nut on top. So when you're installing, I'd say slide this up, pivot it from the back first, get this hole in a little bit, put the nut, start threading it, and then make the whole thing flush and put the whole thing on. Otherwise you won't be able to get the back nut on without taking this whole thing apart. So anyways, put on all these 3 extensions. Then what you do is you just slide on this spacer, right, like that. And then we go for the install after that. So let me tighten these and then we'll look into the install. Alright, now that I got this shock assembly in with the spacer, I've kind of lightly hand threaded these nuts on the top. Now what we're gonna have to do is put basically the bolts back in through the shock hole. Now problem is that the actual mounting hole is much higher than where the shock is right now. So we're gonna have to figure out how to lower this whole assembly. One way I've seen people do it is putting some extruder or pusher on this upper control arm. That's the ideal way to do it. I've seen someone do it with this bottle jack or a scissor jack, but I do not recommend that. It's very sketchy and it can shoot out easily. So however you do it, just be careful. But one thing's for sure, you're gonna have to lower this assembly to allow these 2 holes to line up to put the bolt through, and then you're pretty much done from there. Okay, the way I was able to get that lower shock bolt in and basically close that gap between the hole and the shock, I do not recommend doing it this way at all. It's very dangerous, it's very sketchy. I'm only going to show you for the sake of transparency, but please do not do this. This can be very dangerous, and let me show you why. So what I have going on right here is using this bottle jack. Basically that's how much I had to push it out, so that's a lot of potential energy. It's about 3.5 inches this whole assembly is pushed down. If this slips in any way, right, there's very high potential for it to slip. This can shoot out towards you, and if your face is near here, this whole brake rotor assembly can smash into your body part. So please do not do this. This video is for entertainment and information purposes only. Do not follow any mechanical advice. Like I said, just for the sake of transparency, and make sure you stuff as much wood you can between the gaps so this cannot shoot up too much. Again, what I had to do after, because bringing this down is a pain, I decided to use the jack and slightly push up the shock to bring this bolt in and kind of hammer it in from this end as far away from this assembly as I can. I just want to show you for the sake of transparency, but please, please, please find a better way or research a better way than me. Time for the big reveal. That's it. 2.5 inches. Let's see. Oh, that looks so amazing. So what I'm gonna do now is measure it. I think we were at about 34.5 before inches. So right now in the back, 37.5 and just under 37. So in the front we have like about 2 3/4 inch, and in the back we have 3.5 inch lift. So this should settle down after a bit. I haven't really driven this, but it's amazing. It looks good. It looks good, and I'm finally happy that it got done. So first mod complete, and what we'll do is maybe this video, or maybe probably next video, we'll test this out off-road and see how it performs. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.